Hi, so this week I thought we'd do a quick sketchbook tour. Sketchbook, quote unquote, everything's loose. But yeah, it's the end of the month, and I also have a downloadable art book of everything that I've done this month coming out today. So I figured it'd be a good way to promote that and also just earmark is earmark the right word? Just put a cap on the end of the month, whatever the turn of phrase is. So let's get into it. So this month has been very much an experimental, try lots of different things, mediums, techniques, kind of month for me. So predominantly it's been very figure and life drawing focused. So there's a lot of things that YouTube probably wouldn't appreciate, unfortunately. So I have had to temper what it is that I'm sharing today. But I also want to leave the best stuff for the art book, of course. So yeah, this is a life drawing, a figure drawing that I did with cardboard and dip ink, I do believe. Maybe even a stick. It's something I started doing last year, trying different unusual, more natural or recyclable art materials. And the reference was from the Croquet Cafe. Now, it's a site that I've used quite a lot over the last 6 years. Something I've not used for a little while though. I've only just resubscribed. But if you don't know, it's predominantly a figure reference site. There's lots of other things on there other than people, but that's typically what I use it for. And there was a time where I felt like it was a little bit impersonal. But it's very good for just the mass of imagery that there's there, photos and poses. And I was in a real study mode this last month and a half, and I just felt like drawing some one other than myself for a bit. So yeah. So again, I've done my best to earmark all of these different things, all these different pages with dates and where the resources came from. Human error is obviously a thing, and there's certainly pages in there where I forgot to date and write on, but I've done my best. So this page is again Croquet Cafe, life drawing, gesture sketches. So the red ones are 15 seconds, 30 seconds for the green, and 1 minute for the blue. And layering things in this way is more about economy than it is anything else for me, because they're quite, not that there's not a lot of beauty in a gesture sketch, but for me it's very much just more of a practice technique, and it's just a way to get use out of one page. But it looks kind of fun and it looks kind of cool, so you know, I'm slowly trying to find my grounds when it comes to layering things. In a similar kind of technique for this, these aren't times, but they're just, again, from Croquet Cafe. I think the model's called Alice, I believe. I might be wrong though, I didn't write it down. And again, just trying to find different ways of layering things to use up the page as much as I can, on top of just practicing freehand portraits. These are from Pinterest. And again, wanting to get back into doing, on top of anatomy and figure, it's been a goal of mine to get better at drawing clothing and drapes. So there'll be definitely more of that this year. Now, unfortunately, I feel like my better watercolours are not, like I say, that I probably can't show them on YouTube. Not that they're obscene or anything, it's just their figure, you know, just YouTube being silly. But watercolour has been a huge part of my inspiration this month. Just colour in general, but yeah, there's just something about watercolour. I'm slowly getting the hang of it. I'm slowly learning how much, how wet the brush needs to be, the paper, and all the different techniques are slowly starting to make sense on an instinctual level. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with watercolour. So there's lots of watercolour in this, like I say, I keep talking about this downloadable art book. It's free, it's free with a paid option. Work's been slim. I need to try and make some money, so I'm making that an option, but it is free. And it's just a way to, like I say, log everything that I've done this month, and it's something I hope to do throughout the year. And it helps me keep things honest and shows the process, and I'm hoping it's useful and interesting. It's just going to be imagery. There's not really any writing in there outside of my bad poetry. But anyway, these are upside down studies, so I use my phone for the references. I just turned it upside down and tried to draw that way. The continuous line, 3-minute gestures. I felt like I was getting out of touch, no pun intended, with drawing hands, so I did take a day or two to try and fill up a few pages with fingers and digits and hands. Again, these are all from Croquet Cafe. It got a lot of use at the beginning of the month. And again, just trying different pens with this paper. I'm not used to using it. Certain pens work great with it, certain pens bleed a little bit more, like these. You see them, they don't have that crisp edge. Again, some clothing studies from Pinterest. Now this is a page that I'm not very happy with. This definitely shows my working out, and some days it comes easy, some days it doesn't. That's usually a lack of observational skill more than anything on my part. It's a lack of focus. But I wanted to share it in this video because it's also going to be in the book. I'm going to, like I might have said before, I'm sharing everything, not just good stuff and things that I'm proud of, but everything. Because again, I want to be honest to the process and share all of what it is that I've created. These are some Copics, again, from the Croquet Cafe. Copics I started using roughly around September last year, after never using them before. And yeah, they're a great alternative for watercolour, I think. Or that's how I choose to view them. For one, I don't want to make a mess with watercolour. Sometimes I just want to sit in front of the telly and, do something like watercolour without having to clean up after myself. So that was a great sort of alternative to that. So I wanted to, by this stage of the month, so the 12th, I felt like doing something other than just straight figure. On top of clothing, I also want to get better with scenes. I feel like panels, generally speaking, are going to become more of a theme. Now I've started attempting to create comics. It's something I want to practice. On top of just framing, and I do have experience as a storyboard artist. So it's always good to practice such things. So this is from a Tom Waits video, which I picked mainly because it was a good Notan reference. So the contrast in black and white. the study of that. But also there was lots of smoke in it, and I wanted to play around with water and ink. So this is just like a dip ink. And I used a brush and then some pen. Just some drapes again from Pinterest, which I have a love-hate relationship, as some of you might know. I do find it can be a bit tedious to use Pinterest all of the time. It's great for some things. I think it's great for fashion. It's great for, you know, that sort of street fashion editorial things. But also, sorry, my cat's just walked in. You okay? She likes to say hello every now and again. She'll sit under my chair, have a little grump. Oh yeah. Alright. And she won't leave my side until I give her a little bit of fuss. You okay now? Just checking I'm here. I've no idea what I was talking about. Oh, Pinterest. Yeah, it's great for some things. It's great for animals, fashion, blah blah blah. But again, it does feel impersonal to me. So I sort of see it as straightforward study. I think I struggle to create art that I feel like means something to me if I'm using references that I didn't take, or that I don't know the person that, you know, they come from. But yeah, sorry. Binny has made me lose my train of thought. This is another storyboard / scene notan study from a PJ Harvey video. Again, picked because of the high contrast. I know I'm just doing something at the minute. Oh, got covered in cat hair now. Some self-portraits. So this was the turning point of me wanting to, like I've been wittering on about, doing something a bit more personal. Something that was very study focused at the beginning of the month, slowly morphs into, you know, yeah, I go through trends of what it is that I want to do. And by doing self-portraits, that feels a bit more personal, obviously. This was done with, again, dipping ink, water and my finger. And it has actually stained. I've been scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing, so I maybe won't do that again with that particular ink. And just have to wait for the new skin to take over. So again, watercolour, huge inspiration and obsession this month. And typically I've been going very much straightforward. No initial sketching, no line work, just doing watercolour straight. But because I've spent so long practicing using pens and line work, it seems silly to not try and incorporate the two. So that's what this is. I did the line work first and then tried to colour it in with watercolour. Again, from Pinterest. So this is more of a again, straight to watercolour. Parts of it I'm quite happy with. I like the dreamy look of it. The face didn't go quite well. Detailing is something that I do tend to struggle with a little bit. But it's all a learning process, isn't it? So this is my friend Jade, who gave me the permission to use some of her photos to study from. I also went through a phase of filling watercolour pages, paper, with just random blobs of colour, and then trying to find ways to do something with that. This is Thelonious Monk. So there's quite a lot of musical influence coming in. Bands, artists that I admire or grew up with, admiring. So Thelonious Monk was a huge inspiration to me when I was in my early 20s. I'm not a huge jazz person, but just the fact that he threw everything at that piano, and it sounds so chaotic yet so beautiful. And there's something about the colour, and the it makes me think music. For a long time, I thought I had, is it synesthesia? I think it's probably more of an over active imagination. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of colour. I experience a lot of colour when it comes to music, so it's something I want to try and maybe do. These are my attempts to thumbnail. Thumbnailing is something that I've never really done, so I wanted to practice. So on top of the artwork that I've been doing, I've also been trying to get back into doing more tangential writing, and then hoping to use those as inspiration for larger pieces, for finished pieces, or to just generate ideas. I'm very much anti AI, so I don't plan on using AI for that sort of thing. I don't really like to use sort of like gimmicky ways of coming up with ideas either. It's something I've experimented with in the past, using chance, using dice to pick certain criterias that I've created. But I feel like having these automatic writing, these poems that occasionally come to me, and using those to springboard other ideas is maybe a fun way of doing things a bit different from what I normally do. But overall, thumbnailing I don't think's for me. It's something I'm going to continue to try and practice. But I feel like by doing these kind of things and putting ideas down, I draw quite fast anyway, so I might as well just do that on the page and have any compositional problems just be part of the piece. But I'm also tied to the idea then, and I find that less inspiring somehow. So, but again, they're things I'm not happy with, but they end up in the book. I want to share everything. And again, I mean, it kind of feels like an insurance policy as well, in a sense. I am a freelance illustrator. I don't use AI, and this is the proof. Not that anyone ever claims that I do, but I think it's there. I think we have to be a little bit more savvy now, unfortunately. So again, this is a tree that I took a photo of. It's just down the road. I can see it from the bedroom window, and it just, I don't know, it's something I always look at, so that tree's going to probably show up a lot more over the year. Some skull studies. So this is me trying to move away from doing so many life drawings at the beginning of the month. More clothing study. And then trying to get back to doing more no reference, imagination, stream of consciousness kind of artwork, because the last 2 months have been very focused on reference study, observational study. Sorry, if you hear a rumbling, that's my stomach. So again, just letting ideas form on the page, which is why, again, like with the thumbnails, I prefer that way of working. I prefer that instinctual stream of consciousness kind of way of doing things that can have a kernel of an idea. So I still want to use these poems, these writings that I do, but just try and merge the two in a sense, like structured chaos. Hello again. You're very vocal. So again, trying to get back into some character work, some just for fun kind of things of an evening. It's typically something that I do for the last couple of hours of the day after I've had some practice. the continuous line things that I did in the last video. Oh, sorry. My stomach is really ready for some food. So yeah, there's, again, going back to more personal inspired things. So these are some self-portraits again, framing things, like I said. So everything at the end of the month is slowly coming together, combining figure and colour and frames. Legs, I'm terrible at drawing legs, I feel. So that's something for February, something to focus on a bit more. And then at this point, which is, we're getting close to the end of the last week of the month with this little stack, going back through things that I did, pages that were left unfinished. This was a line exercise, lots of watercolour and ink and things, and then looking at that and then trying to throw something else on top of it, having the page have a history on top of just exercises, but also, you know, like a study or something that feels a little bit more meaningful. So this is a self-portrait again, and trying to find a way to have colour, you know, have a mood, or just experimenting for the sake of it. Here's another one. But not only with colour necessarily, but also with the line work that I do, trying to juxtapose things a little bit more. So these are some Croquet Cafe portraits that I did at the beginning of the month, and then throw in a landscape of my own photo over the top. And for me, it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but the two things have a potential connective tissue that the viewer could, you know, thrust upon it. Not that I think they will necessarily with this, but the idea of juxtaposing things does do that. I do apologise for my stomach. So yeah, another watercolour study, trying to do little panels, again self-portrait with this is my granddad's plant that I'm now in care of. That isn't, unfortunately, not looking too great, but I will try and feed it and be a bit more loving of it. Another study of jade. Again, this was a failed watercolour, let's call it, that I then threw ink and acrylic marker over the top of. It's messy and I'm not super happy with it, but there's definitely elements that I can take away and practice. Hopefully by the end of the month I will have refined some of this experimentation. Again, become a little bit obsessed with framing things. So this is just a skull study. And back to the Copics, something I did at the beginning, yesterday I think. Hello again. Are you hungry as well? You've had food. Go on. Yeah, so more Copics. Self-portraits. Again, trying to find ways to incorporate the colour blotches that I did with something. This is ink with brush and water, just like a little landscape scene. Again, more of the same, just with a figure. And some Pinterest studies. Again, just trying to figure out how to layer things. Some hand studies. This was, so I actually did a pencil sketch. It's something I don't typically do, but I did a pencil sketch before doing the watercolour, because I want to try and practice doing things that are a little bit more refined. I tend to just be very, like, throw caution to the wind with a lot of what I do. But then the watercolour I overworked, so then I have thrown some pen and some acrylic marker over the top of it. Still not perfect, but it's good practice. This is from a war paint video. I liked the colours. I thought it would be interesting because they've got sparklers, so I thought it would be an interesting thing to practice. And this is of my friend Elena. Again, it was a bit of a failed watercolour, so I've thrown ink and acrylic marker over the top. And it almost feels like a Disco Elysium thing to me, which I kind of like. But yeah, we'll leave it there, because I've wittered on, and my cat Binny has wittered on quite a lot this video. But yeah, if you'd like to see more, if you'd like to see all the things, this is barely a half. This is like a quarter of what I've done this month. And if you'd like to see more, there's that downloadable art book, which should be available now. I am pre-recording this video on Friday, but the plan is to release this video just after I've released that book. It'll also feature some music. They're just phone demos and little bits and bobs. I'm planning to create a library over the next, like a sample library, an ideas library over the next 3 months or so, to then start creating music that feels a bit more finished once I've got my palette together of ideas. But those ideas, that palette, will be available for everybody. If you want to download that, again, for free, you can use it in your own music creation if that's something that you do. And yeah, we'll leave it there. So hopefully next week there will be a drawing video. And yeah, hopefully see you there. Thanks for watching if you've made it this far. Much appreciated, and see you next week. Bye-bye.